The Toronto Maple Leafs find themselves ranked 23rd on TSN's Core 4 Under-24 team rankings this season. It's been a frustrating start to the season for the Leafs, but there have been some bright spots as well, Craig. Is Matthew Knies on his way to becoming one of the most dominant power forwards in the NHL?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it, Gino. When you watch Matthew Knies play, not only the power in his game, but the way he plays in such a competitive, into the guts of the action style of game with a lot of good skill. I think that's the definition of a power forward. And Matthew Knies has shown from almost day one what he was about. Now what you're seeing is that continuous development. He's getting more comfortable imposing himself, asserting himself in the game, and being somebody that is really, really hard to play against. And when you think about who he plays with in Auston Matthews, it becomes something that can really benefit Auston Matthews. These types of players that can score in tight, that can make plays, that can play in tight spaces and gain advantages because of their approach to the game, they're really, really valuable. And I don't think there's any question that Matthew Knies is not on his way, is already one of the very best power forwards in the National Hockey League right now.
Speaking of guys on their way, we've seen Easton Cowan get a taste in the NHL level this season, but based on what you've seen, how close is he being to an important contributor for the Leafs this season?
Easton Cowan is at least a year away from being able to help the Toronto Maple Leafs in what I would consider to be a meaningful way. So let me define meaningful. The Toronto Maple Leafs have high goals. Their goals are to compete for a Stanley Cup. Well, Easton Cowan's not ready for that. And Easton Cowan's in a learning phase in his career. I wouldn't be surprised if he's up and down between the Leafs and the Marlies this season. I mean, bottom line is he's a player that has ability, that has talent, that has a lot of good potential. We saw what he did with the London Knights. The Toronto Maple Leafs are high on him, and they should be high on him. He's simply, in my view, not ready to be able to be a significant contributor. I think after you get to the new year, see where he's at. He's going to have a refresher. And when I say a refresher with the Olympic break, to just kind of take a deep breath, get a little bit of rest. And maybe that's the time to really see where he's at in his game. Because I think he's more of a, I don't want to say a long-term, but he's not a short-term guy for the Leafs to be a significant difference maker at this time.
Okay, big picture now. Most of the teams ranked near or below the Leafs have had recent playoff success, or they're in the middle of winning windows right now. How tough of a challenge does Brad Treliving face now, managing an aging roster while having very little in terms of top draft picks or high-end prospects to work with?
That's a massive challenge, Gino. You know, you don't have first-round draft picks. You've traded away younger prospects. I mean, Fraser Minton is the most recent example going to the Boston Bruins, you know, trying to bolster your lineup to compete. I mean, it would be one thing, you know, you look at near the bottom of the team rankings of the Core 4 Under-24. Well, those teams have won the Stanley Cup, some of them multiple times, have been to the Stanley Cup final twice in the Edmonton Oilers, are in a window, Winnipeg Jets. And here's the Toronto Maple Leafs, who haven't even had a measure of playoff success. And now they're staring into the abyss of what does the future look like when we don't have any young players, when we don't have any players that can come in. We saw the Toronto Maple Leafs with Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Morgan Riley for a long period of time, you know, be one of the best teams in the National Hockey when it came to Core 4, and they were tracking up. They're not tracking up anymore, Gino. They're tracking down. And that's not an easy path to get off of. And for Brad Treliving, this is a significant challenge. Because quite frankly, they're not a contender. And the future, without a lot of good young players, doesn't look bright.
Does this send a message to other GMs around the league? Be careful what you do with your first-round draft picks. Don't be so quick to pull a trigger on a deal involving them?
No. Because when the Tampa Bay Lightning traded first-round draft picks to get Blake Coleman and to get Barclay Goodrow, they went on and won 2 Stanley Cups. When the Florida Panthers go and trade first-round draft picks, they went on and won Stanley Cups. This isn't about trading first-round draft picks. This is about constructing your roster. You know, we talk about windows, Gino. The window for the Toronto Maple Leafs is slammed shut.
Ouch. Tons more Core 4 content available on both TSN.ca and at TSN's YouTube page.